Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 3 of Pumpin Iron, the review series for the muscle cars of Gran Turismo 6. So in this episode we're featuring one of my personal favourite muscle cars of the Gran Turismo series, the 1964 Pontiac Tempest Le Mans GTO. Now this is one of the oldest muscle cars in the game. It's from 1964. It's also one of the most underappreciated. I think a lot of people just don't even notice this car in the dealership. Obviously a lot of people have used it, but there are far more people who have never even considered this car. Mainly because I believe, as I just said, they probably don't even see it in the dealership. Because the Pontiac dealership for most people isn't one of their most visited, so you can easily overlook this car. And it's a 53 grand car. So for that kind of money, which isn't the most expensive, it's far from it, but for that kind of money, what does this car have to offer? Why should you want to buy this muscle car instead of, or as well as, any other muscle car? Well, performance-wise, it's got a 6.4 litre supercharged engine that puts out 756 horsepower when fully tuned, so it's not the most powerful of muscle cars. But it puts out 866 pound-feet of torque, which is among the higher of muscle car torque outputs. It also weighs in at a remarkably lightweight 1,163 kilos, which makes it both a lot lighter than it looks for such a large vehicle, but also among the lightest of the muscle cars that feature on the game. There are very, very few muscle cars that weigh less than 1,200 kilos, but this is one of them. And thanks to this, despite not necessarily having the most horsepower of any muscle car in the game, it does have a very, very impressive power-to-weight ratio of 650 horsepower per tonne, which for a 1964 muscle car is pretty impressive. But what does it have to offer in terms of real driving performance? Because it's one thing to have big numbers on paper, it's another to be a truly good and competitive car. Well, in a straight line, it is actually among the quickest muscle cars in the game for top-end performance. The top speed is well in excess of 240 miles per hour, without NOS or draft. With slipstream, you can get to incredible speeds with this car, well over 290. So for top-end speed, it is one of the quickest muscle cars. For acceleration as well, it's one of the quickest, which is very impressive considering that we already mentioned it's far from being the most powerful. And also, thanks to its extremely low weight, it's actually one of the best handling muscle cars in the game. And this is partly due, as we said, to its weight, but also due to the shape of the car. It has a relatively unique body style among the muscle cars of Gran Turismo, in that it has a boot or trunk that is longer than the bonnet. And that is unique among muscle cars on Gran Turismo. As far as I can remember, all of the other muscle cars have at least equal length trunks and bonnets, but in more often than not, a longer bonnet. Now, having a longer trunk or boot than a bonnet does give the car unique handling characteristics. You'd think it would make it more tail happy, but it actually works in the exact opposite way. It works like a tail on a fast animal such as a cheetah. It works to stabilise the car under speed, and it may sound ridiculous to compare a 1964 Pontiac to a cheetah, but believe me, it does work in that way. It makes it more stable at high speed and also acts as a counterbalance to improve low speed handling. And it also gives you one of the greatest turn-ins into corners of any of the muscle cars. So in other words, it's more nimble and can outmaneuver most of the other muscle cars in the game for pure tight corner and low speed handling. It also, as it happens, handles brilliantly top end, makes an excellent NASCAR, and it's just a really underappreciated car in general, and that's such a shame. I mean, technically it's also not a shame because it means you can use that to your advantage, but it is a shame that more people don't realise and benefit from how brilliant this car really is. Now, I'm not necessarily going to say that this will give you the quickest lap time of any muscle car, and it's certainly not the quickest, but it is definitely among the quickest and has the potential to be superior to at least the majority of the other muscle cars on the game on most tracks. And for its price of 53,000 credits, it definitely is a bargain, because it's a great looking car, it's a great collector's piece, and it's not just a showpiece. It can actually match those looks with performance. It's a brilliant car all round, and if you haven't tried it before, I would definitely recommend you give it a go. Whether you're a fan of muscle cars or not, this car will surprise you by just how good it is. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.